George Russell, Max Verstappen on top of their game. What would happen if they switched? We have S after this.
Well, there's only one S, and we know who it is. So
I want to put another S in there, dude.
I was rewatching Abu Dhabi 2021.
Whoa.
I was rewatching it.
Wild. Pierre Gasly saying in the press that he could be world champion next year because they'll have that Mercedes engine. Now, I think that's a little bit pie in the sky.
I'm a red flag heavy hitter. I'm a mailman, baby.
What's up, bankers?
Hello, bankers.
How is everybody doing?
How are you doing? It's a week off. I think it was necessary, Bubby. What do you think? I think we all needed take a breath.
Not me. Because when there's no race week, I have to think about my life and the choices that I've made. I don't like that. I don't like that. I want to just be able to just focus on what Lando Norris is doing wrong and not what I've done wrong in my own life. You know what I'm saying? Much easier to look at other people's mistakes.
See, but I think that Lando Norris has been spending so much time thinking about what he's doing wrong that he very much needs this time. That's what I'm telling myself, is that this is going to be a good breath for Lando Norris. And it was a momentum. We'll see if it's how much of a momentum killer it is for one Oscar Piastri, though I don't think that guy needs much in his way. This is the Red Flags, brought to you by BetMGM. We're going to be covering a lot in today's episode. We're going to be doing a driver ranking tier list of the season so far, covering some news stories between the 2026 regulations, all these more rumors about Max Verstappen, George Russell. Is George Russell going to be a Red Bull driver in 2026? I don't know. We will discuss here. We're going to be talking about Miami. We will also be in Miami next week. We're going to be doing a live show with Gunter before the race, previewing this race. Stay tuned for more details of that to come. Follow us on Instagram. And if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Or if you're listening on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you're following us. Okay, let's get into this race. I think we should let's talk about the season so far a little bit, and then let's start classifying how these drivers have done in the season. What's your 5 races in? What's your big takeaway of the season?
Good, not great.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it'd be better.
Speak on it.
Little too much quality dependency. Not enough wheel to wheel racing. We got too much dirty air. Lando and Oscar are technically in a battle, but they're kind of because of various. Little bit of team orders, a little bit of Lando making mistakes at key moments, a little bit of Oscar making a mistake in Australia. We've never really gotten. We were thinking, okay, either we're going to get like a 3-way shootout, 4-way shootout. That'll be great if the cars are close, or hopefully we'll get a Rosberg Hamilton.
Right.
Right now we're kind of getting neither.
Yeah.
Right now we're kind of getting neither.
Yeah.
We're sort of nowhere. We're kind of in nowheresville. At least Oscar's not running away with it. Orlando's not running away with it. At least we don't have that. But what we really need is a Lando Oscar just fucking battling it out every week. That's what was going to save it, and we're not currently getting it.
Right. Well, we'll see if that continues to be what needs to happen for a good season. Right now, it's early enough, and Max Verstappen is pulling off enough miracles, and George Russell's having a great season so far that it's kind of still somewhat close. But if these McLarens sail off into the distance, we're going to need a little bit more from these two boys. I want to see them battle on track, not just Lando battling off track with himself. That's what I need to see.
That's right.
I'm with you. I think we'll talk later in this episode about maybe some of the ways in which the on-track battling can get a little bit better. There's things that the FIA are considering with regards to these tires that keep not degrading so that it turns into this, quali battle of a season. But before we get into the news, I think we should classify and tier list these boys. Starting with an F tier. We're going to go F, D, C, B, A, and S for the GOAT shit. Does anyone deserve an F tier in your mind of this season so far?
It's hard to put anybody in an F tier because F should be reserved for the Logan Sargents. I mean, we've seen Fs before, right?
Yes.
Or are we just grading? Or are we just grading everybody on a curve, and there always has to be an F?
I feel like I think an F feels harsh for anyone, but I think no one deserves an F. So let's go to D because I think there are plenty of people that maybe should be in the D category. No one's failing out.
I would throw Liam in D right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, listen, these are like not even midterm grades. These are like
right.
You had your first quiz.
That's right.
This is what you got on your first quiz. You can, for any Liam Lawson fans or Jack Doohan fans. Well, unfortunately, for Jack Doohan, this might be the final. But who knows? He might stick around.
Yeah.
For any of you, because I remember when I went to college, I got my first essay assignment, and I wrote my essay about, I think it was about the Iliad or something. I was in a classics course, and I was like, wrote my classic 5-paragraph essay. I was like, Achilles is really brave. Here are the 3 examples of why he's brave. And I did like the 5-paragraph essay. It was like, wow, like I wrote my first college essay. How exciting is that? I'm a really good essay writer. I got A's in all my high school classes. I got a great SAT score. Got it back, C. C minus, maybe even. Like I was devastated. And it was just like, but I turned it around. I learned. That's what it is for these guys.
Right.
So I would give, yes, a D would be for Liam Lawson. I think he would get a D, but he could definitely turn around. He could still finish out the year with an A.
Yeah. Lot of year left. But yeah, I would say Lawson's in the D category. Doohan is in the D category.
I would give Doohan a D plus because he's just missed Q2 a couple of times. There's a couple times he's been a 10th off of Gasly. There's a couple times I was like, oh, he's kind of close to Gasly. A couple times. His quality pace hasn't been terrible. Has not been terrible. He has not strung together a weekend the way we'd like to see. Yeah. But his quality pace has not been terrible. So that's why I'm giving him a D+.
What do you think about a Gabriel Bortoleto?
Impossible to say.
I know. It's so hard with these guys in the bottom, but like he out-qualified Hulkenberg early, but I think it's been 5-1, including the sprint quali. But I think he has had one on Hulkenberg, which is impressive.
I'll give him low C.
You'll give him you'll leave him for the C category. So
does anyone
else belong? Has
he wrecked the car? Because like Doohan's wrecked the car,
right,
a couple of times. So like Gabriel Bortoleto, he's just kind of been boring.
He's been boring in a car that has no chance of really being anywhere this year. So I can't knock him too much. He's had a few spin outs in the beginning. I was hoping that he was going to have a few kind of like flashy, impressive Q2 performances that would prove
he almost killed Alonso.
He did almost kill Alonso, but you're reserving him for C. So does anyone else go in D to you?
Anybody else go in D?
I mean, I would say Lance Stroll, but has 10 points and Fernando Alonso has 0. But Alonso has out-qualified him in every single race, and 8 of those points came in the first race of the year, with changing conditions, as we all know.
No, I don't think. I think I would put Lance and Alonso in the C-ish.
Okay.
C+.
So D is reserved for Liam Lawson, Jack Doohan, but there's still plenty of time. Right now, Australia and New Zealand not having a great time. Right. Let's move on to the C tier. So you already said we got Lance Stroll in the C tier. You're putting Fernando Alonso also in the C tier?
Have to. He's right there with I would say Stroll scored more points, but Alonso has out-qualified him, so we got to split the diff, put him in the same tier. Which kills me to say. Kills me.
I mean, it is a kind of question. It's a tough road for him right now because he he kind of took this gamble on Aston Martin. In the beginning, it was looking like what a great decision he made when they were really up there, and then it's just been slowly just heading towards the bottom of the barrel here. Aston Martin looking like one of the worst teams on the grid. Apparently, Adrian Newey is not responding to anyone's texts or emails because he's so locked into next year's car. Though part of me is like, is he not answering emails because he's just like got his bag and he's on the beach? I'm not. They're like, of course it's because he's putting in this perfect design for next year. But we all know that he likes to chill as well.
I can't believe you give this guy $30 million and he's not even going to look.
Yeah.
He's not even going to look at the car. Just give it a once over.
Hey,
I'm focusing on the 2026 cars.
Hey, while you're taking a shit,
while you're on the
why don't
toilet,
you open up your phone and look at some pictures, see if you have any ideas so that we can have some more money to put towards the 2026 car. That would be nice.
Yeah, he's not going to meetings either, apparently. Yeah.
Dude, Adrian Newey's just playing hooky, dude. He's got tenure now.
He does have tenure. He has.
He's a part owner of the team. He's not going to meetings, not answering emails, not returning phone calls. He's just hopefully working on a brilliant version of this car. But right now, that's all we have is hope because no one's seen him.
That would be awesome if he also wasn't working on the 2026 car. We just took the money and ran.
I mean, there have been like lots of guys in the history of Formula One who just kind of like disappeared and like maybe faked their own death, you know? It's just so funny to me where they're like, yeah, no one can get a hold of him. I'm like, is Adrian Newey on the lam? What's going on?
Yeah.
But
I just think it's crazy that he won't even just take his little book and like walk around the car once.
Right.
I mean,
well, maybe he's just like, I don't even want to like pollute my mind with shit you've made.
Right.
This absolute terrible shitty car that's going to influence my design. I don't even want to be near it. All right, so right now we've got the two Aston boys in the C tier. We've also put Bortoleto in the C tier. Who else belongs in tier C? So within the C tier, part of me is feeling like maybe not C, but there's something to be said about Esteban Ocon. Despite the fact that he's beating Behrman in the points, Behrman's been up in his case, up in his grill, challenging him, beating him, I think twice in quali. You know, we're hoping that a guy was going to come in with all the experience that he had and dominate this rookie, but he's looking like right now, I feel like Ollie Behrman has a very good shot at beating his teammate by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, it's not the classic like rookie comes in beating his teammate in qualifying. It's a new team for all Ocon too.
Sure.
You could actually, can't believe I'm fucking defending Ocon, but you know, Ocon switching from a Renault to a Ferrari engine.
Sure.
New car, new team. Actually, Behrman's probably had more time in that Haas as a development driver and as a Ferrari junior. He's had more experience with the Ferrari power engine than Ocon has. Still, Ocon has been in the game for like 7-8 years, probably.
Right.
I took a year or two off. So that said, I don't think Ocon's ever been a mega qualifier. He's always been kind of a crafty racer. So it kind of scans that maybe he would lose a few qualies, but he's kind of smart. He's a little Sainz-y, I think. This is kind of how he's kept a career, where he might not have the ultimate raw pace in say one lap, but he always manages a smart race and he's always there when it counts. So if I'm just grading Ocon the way I know him, like I think it's more than reasonable to say that Behrman might outqualify him more times than you would like, given the experience divide. But I think Ocon has that nose for, whether it's Hungary or Brazil, he'll just fucking. It's already happened, right? He's bagged the points when they were there to bag. Like, I think Behrman's gotten. He made it to Q3 one or two times, I think, and he hasn't really. He maybe gets 1 point.
Right.
Let me look at the results. What were Ocon's big results?
Ocon's big results in China, he got 10, and then in Saudi he got 4 points. He got 10 points in China over the course of the weekend.
Right. Because
there was the sprint that was in China as well. But let's see, did he?
Right. Yeah, he got fifth. He got fifth in China. Whereas Behrman got eighth. But actually, Behrman's been kind of more consistent, right? 14th, 8th, 10th, 13th. He's actually he's actually kind of always, his average is maybe a little bit, or his mean. I'm not good at math, but it's like mean is maybe a little bit higher. Connor, in the chat, assess that for me. But
that's right.
If you
got our own stat guy.
Right. So that's kind of my feeling, is that his mean might be a little bit higher. But I could be wrong.
Vankas, this episode is brought to you by BetMGM. Come see what's new at BetMGM. Score bigger when you win with boost tokens, odd boost tokens, and more. Even if your bet doesn't hit, we've got you covered with no sweat tokens. Sign up with BetMGM today and you'll have access to countless betting options, including new look, same game parlays, teasers, live bets, and so much more. Take advantage of these offerings and be sure to use the bonus code DADDY when signing up to receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. This is an exciting season. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, who's going to finish? Who's going to win each race? Where's Yuki Tsunoda going to wind up? You can bet on all this with BetMGM, so do it today. Use the bonus code DADDY when signing up, and again, receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. See you out there, Vegas.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 and over only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
I think you're right. Yeah, he got that fifth in China, which got him the 10 points there. So that's like his big, he performed well in that race, had this points total. But okay, so I'll reserve maybe
do we
both
give him a C? But it feels wrong to give Ocon a B.
Plus.
Give him a C plus. Put him high C.
We give Ocon gets a high C.
And given Behrman's a rookie, we got to give him low B.
I think Behrman gets a low B. The question now is, where do you put Nico Hülkenberg? Because I feel like everyone else is above the C status. Does Nico Hülkenberg belong in a C category?
I think Hülkenberg has 6 points in a kick Sauber. Got to put him B.
Yep.
How many points does Bortoleto have?
0.
The wonder
he got those 6. He got those 6 in Australia in the wet with the changing conditions and all that kind of craziness. But hey, he got 6 points, and he has ultimately, I think it's 5-1 in terms of qualifying against Bortoleto. So yeah, I agree.
How many lifetimes would it have taken Sauber to get 6 points? How many races do you think there would have had to have been in the season last year for Sauber to get 6 points? How many points did they get last year? They got
4 points last year.
Joe got 4 points.
Yeah. So in the first race of the year, they outscored their team the entirety of the year before, thanks to Mr. Hülkenberg. Yeah. Okay, so we're done with the C's. They were reserved for Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon with the C+. Now let's move to the B category, where I think we'll have a lot of people.
Okay, so it's like most of them are probably low B.
Yeah. I think. Well, the other thing that up until two races ago, Carlos Sainz would have been in the C category.
Yeah.
But now he's starting to figure out the car. I still think at this point he's a B, but he's on a trajectory towards being higher. We'll see how high his ceiling goes. But at the moment, 5 races in, he still gets a B for me. I think that Lewis.
Well, he won a sprint race. I don't know what that does.
I still think that Lewis is right now in the B category.
He's in the B category for sure.
Kimi Antonelli. What do you think?
I put him low B's.
He's a rookie,
right? I put him low B's, right around where you put Behrman.
Yes, I agree. Isaac Hadjar, I think.
I put him mid B's. I put him mid B's. I would put him like. I think he's done well again. He's doing well against Lawson, who's obviously not as good as Russell, but he's kind of competitive with. He was semi-competitive with Yuki.
Right.
I mean, Hadjar's done, other than the one freak beginning race where he crashed out. I think he's done. He might be the best. Him and Behrman might be the best. Antonelli.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to figure out which one of these fucking guys has been the best.
Well, they've had different versions of this, right? Because I feel like Hadjar's actually been a bit more kind of consistent.
Yes.
Antonelli's had these flashes where you're like, holy shit, down the line, maybe this guy's going to be amazing to watch on track. But those have been in race. And Behrman has had these impressive qualies, and he had that one great start. So they've had kind of different versions of impressive rookie years so far. They've all had highlights of moment, because that's what you want from a rookie. You're not necessarily looking for, I need someone who's going to be like every day showing up. Like, you're not necessarily looking for where the super high floor. You're looking for the high ceiling.
Well, you're looking for where the peaks are, and then you can hopefully, because they don't get faster, they just get more consistent.
Right. Exactly.
So
in that way, I think that Antonelli and Behrman have actually had higher peaks than Hadjar. Hadjar's kind of been more just like consistently solid. Yeah. Whereas like Antonelli's had a few overtakes that everyone's been kind of like, holy shit, how did he do that? And Behrman's, been out qualifying his much more experienced teammate and throwing that Haas into Q3 in a way that's very impressive as well.
Yeah, I guess I would rank it that way, but it's close. It's very close. They're all in the low to mid Bs.
I agree. So we got who else? Okay, so here's the maybe the last a couple other people.
Albon
Pierre
is
Gasly.
a B.
Albon's a B. High B. I'm giving him high B.
Okay.
Giving him B
for
plus,
now.
but B for sure. We'll see.
I mean,
he might be tracking down.
He might
be tracking down.
I'm selling that stock right now. I am selling Albon and buying gold.
No, diamond hands. Hold the line. Hold the line for my Albon fans. Yeah. So Albon's in B as well. Pierre Gasly. What do you think about Pierre Gasly?
Saying, I mean, his points don't reflect it, but his quality, right. I'm saying, I think he's had some bad strategy, some bad luck. The team operations has been F. I would say I think he's low A minus.
I agree. Okay, so we reserve him for low A. What about Yuki Tsunoda?
Oh fuck!
I know.
Well, he's high A, obviously.
He's S. He's S.
He's S.
No, I think as much as has happened, I'm still right now. I think Yuki's still in B territory.
He's in B. He's in B.
Yuki's solid in B.
Yes, he's getting the Red Bull, which is very difficult to drive, into Q3. He's getting points. That's what he needs to do.
But on the curve of the other Red Bull drivers that have been in that seat before him, he's an A. But regardless, he's a B for now.
Yes.
Okay, so that does it for our B categories. At the end of the day, we had Bierman, Carlos, Lewis, Kimi Antonelli, Isaac Hadjar, Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda all in the B tier. Now let's head to the A's. We already established Pierre Gasly. They're just so intertwined in my mind. Pierre Gasly is on the low A minus. Who are our other A's? And remember, we have
I would
afterwards.
I would hate to say this. I would say Norris is low A.
Low A.
I would say Piastri is mid A. The question is,
remember
we have
S. We have S after this.
Well, there's only one S, and we know who it is. So
I want to put another S in there, dude. And his name is George Russell.
You want to put Russell in S? Interesting. Well, if you want to put Russell in S,
I don't know if he's S. I don't know if he's an S, but he's A plus.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
To me, he's 2. To me, it goes Max Verstappen, George Russell, Oscar Piastri.
Yes.
Most impressive years so far.
Yes, that's right. I'm putting Norris in the Pierre Gasly category. I'm putting Lando Norris in the Pierre Gasly category.
A minus, 100%.
A minus. Very good performances.
Mm-hmm.
Can be the best driver on his day, but can, we've also seen.
I will
other
also
days.
put Charles Leclerc in that category.
Oh, fuck. I got to put Leclerc mid A.
Yeah, A minus. I think A
minus, right. Yeah, A minus. Yeah.
I think
he's had some very good races, though.
He only has one podium, which was in Jeddah. I think it took him a little bit to get used to this car as well. I think there were some changes that he is now kind of like figuring out.
Yes.
Which is, I think, part of why this gap has started to form. Because in the early part of the year, when Lewis was kind of like on Leclerc's tail, I was like, oh shit, look at this.
Yeah, it's only gotten worse for Lewis.
It's only gotten worse, which you were thinking that it was going to start slow for Lewis and he would get better. Now we'll see how the rest of the year pans out. But it seems like they were both struggling with aspects of this car. Charles has been able to figure it out faster than Lewis has.
But it's been fourth, and third. So he's just missed the podium in Japan. He just missed the podium in Bahrain, and then he finally got one in Saudi. But, yeah. And, there was a disqualification in China. George Russell has been A minus. Leclerc has been A minus for sure.
Yeah.
But now he's trending towards A plus.
Yes. So then
maybe even S.
Leclerc? Let's not put the cart. We'll see. He had one good race so far.
If he keeps podiuming,
for sure. Well, then maybe he can consider himself close to one George Russell. But until then, I'm not going to let one race dictate my categorization.
Well, Russell got P2 in Bahrain. Yeah, it's tough. Russell's near the S tier, honestly.
That's what that's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
I give Oscar an A, just a solid A with the chance for upward mobility. I give George Russell an A plus, and then we save the S for one Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Because
I just think that the Mercedes might not be as good on its best day, but I think it's a better car overall.
Mm-hmm.
And Max has more points than Russell. So totally. I just think if you switched them, which we might get into, I think if we switched them, Max would have more points.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that because I think George Russell might have a better result or two because I think, the ceiling of that Red Bull is higher, but it's just harder to get to. It's harder to unlock. Right. So, because look at Kimi and look at where Kimi's finishing versus Yuki or what's his face, Lawson, right? It's just look at the second driver. It's just such a harder car to unlock.
Right. All right. So those are our rankings. So F, we give no one an F because we're good. We're fun professors. We don't fail people. In the D category, Liam Lawson, Jack Doohan. C category, Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon, who gets a C+. Let it be known. In the B category, we've got Ollie Behrman, Kimi Antonelli with B minuses, then Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Isaac Hadjar, Yuki and Nico Hulkenberg, with Alex Albon with a B+, but maybe trending down. In the A category, we've got as an A- Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, Lando Norris, with the only holder of the just straight up A, 100% on the test, Oscar Piastri, 105% A+ for George Russell, and the 150 S tier belongs to one and only Max Verstappen. That is the scientific red flags tier list for the 2025 season as of now. Vankas, I want you to close your eyes and imagine what you'll look like 6 months from now. How's your hair looking? The same? Now picture how your hair would look if you started using Hims. If you are picturing your hair as the same as you were before, you'd be wrong. How about something thicker and fuller? Then you'd be correct. What about 3 to 6 months from now? You could pick up a new hobby and get not that good at it, or you could get Hims and start having thicker and fuller hair. Men, if you're starting to notice your hair thinning and you look in the mirror, you are not alone. Life gets much busier, and it can feel like there's not enough time in the day to do something about it. So try Hims Hair Loss Solutions. You can avoid jumping through a bunch of frustrating hoops and get access to treatment without ever leaving your home. Hims provides you with convenient access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating your hair loss simple with doctor-treated options and clinically proven ingredients, including finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow your hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from a personalized, chewable oral spray or serum treatments to find out what works best for you. Start your free online visit at hims.com/redflags. That's HIMS.com/redflags for your personal hair loss treatment options. Once again, hims.com/redflags. Results may vary based on studies of topical, oral, minoxidil, and finasteride. Prescription products required. An online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. I think let's get into a little bit of news. We were just talking about it. George Russell, Max Verstappen on top of their game. What would happen if they switched? What would happen if George Russell was in a Red Bull? Something that I never thought would have been possible ever. But now there are reports and rumors that there have been a few conversations that have been had between George Russell and Christian Horner. There are some rumors floating around that Max Verstappen's out clause, that he's got this performance clause, that if he's not in the top 2 after a certain point of the season in the driver's standings, then Max has a right to leave Red Bull. So 10 races in, if it's really McLaren sailing into the distance and Max has that out, will he take that out? If he takes that out, where will he go? The common thought is that it's going to be Mercedes, because what it looks like is this 2026 engine regs, Mercedes is going to start off with a big advantage over the rest of the field. And then it comes a question, if that happens, does George Russell go to Red Bull?
Yeah, it's like a bad rom-com. Where like the partners switch.
Yeah. It's like the holiday, but it's like the holiday, but it doesn't work out. Like they don't fall in love with the new partners.
Yeah, there's actually a book that's huge that they're making. I think they're making a movie on it called A Funny Story, where basically these two people, their exes hook up with their significant others, like hook up with each other.
Yeah.
So they end up through through a series of crazy events, they end up having to live together because their respective partners are now living together. So now they live together. And it's about how they fall in love. They're both like the two spurned people fall in love. It's actually
Well, what
it's actually
often
a
does
cute book.
happen, yeah, that's a cute. What does happen, and I've seen this happen before. If a pair get cheated on, like if both people are in a relationship and their partners both cheat on each other, those scorned partners will at least fuck once. Like I've seen that happen a few times because it's just like you have this shared trauma, really, of like being betrayed, and then you like kind of. You're like there for each other, and then whether I've never seen it go further than that. I think in a movie version
we're gonna see it. I think
right. So I just like I can't get over this image of George Russell on Red Bull. I can't like get out of my head.
I think people who lack imagination are like, I can't imagine George Russell on Red Bull. I can't imagine it. I don't think they pay enough attention to George Russell. I think George Russell is a rabid animal.
Yes.
He's right now he's on the Yankees and he's got to sort of compose himself.
Yes.
And he's British, so he has that veneer of gentility. But he's a fucking animal. I mean, he is as ruthless, as psychopathic as Max Verstappen is. He just he's just a little more polite about it.
Yeah.
He has that faux British veneer to everything. But
Right.
deep down, I think he's like as psychotic as Max Verstappen.
Yeah. Well, you know who else has that faux British veneer to everything? Christian Horner. I mean,
oh my God,
they
would be perfect.
They're a match made in fucking heaven, dude. Like when I say that I can't get it out of my head, is that like I can't stop picturing it because I want it to happen. I think that
it's the same people that are like, I can't imagine Lewis Hamilton in red. I'm like, well, he looks amazing.
George would actually be so kind of perfect for the Red Bull organization. I think that like the way that Red Bull kind of conducts itself is actually how George wants to conduct himself, but he's pretending to be this Mercedes company man. I think I
think part of him wants to think of himself as like a gentleman driver. Part of him does. I think he holds on to that, but he lets it go on the radio sometimes when he's ruthlessly trying to assassinate Lewis. You know,
he lets it go all the time.
Yeah.
After the sprint race in Baku, when he's fighting with Max, and he's just like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
right.
Fuck off. And then storms off. Like,
yeah.
He's punchy and sure, and he'll stand up to Max under the guise of like, you know, the spirit of the sport.
I stand up to bullies.
I stand up to bullies, and that's not the way to go racing. But like, we've seen George Russell race like a psycho, and I think that like he actually would be the perfect person to replace Max Verstappen. And in that same vein, you know, it's interesting. Like James Val is saying that Max Verstappen has downsides. I don't think that Max Verstappen has downsides if you like know how to deal with him. But I'm not sure that the Mercedes organization is like ready for a Max Verstappen.
I think that's less of a fit.
Totally.
I think that's way less of a fit. I think Max would clash way more with Mercedes' culture.
Yes.
Quote unquote, than Russell. I think you're so right. I think Horner and Russell are both like rich British guys who are ruthless.
Yes.
And will get along.
Yes.
Can you imagine Drive to Survive will have a field day? The two of them with Jerry riding horses together and shooting skeet. It's so good. That is writes itself. It's amazing. It's perfect. And they're both clever in the media. They're perfect for each other. They're just they're cut from the same exact cloth. So I would say in the way they manipulate the media and the way that they're ruthless.
Right.
But in terms of their media persona and their ruthlessness, I would say that they're very similar.
Also, all that George has been wanting for the last however many years is for Toto to back him to the hills. To just have my back no matter what. Just have my back. And time again, Toto's distracted, He'll have Lewis's back, not George's. He'll say a nice thing to George and also like kind of a backhanded compliment. Now his eyes are on Kimmy, and he's horny for Max in the corner. Like, George is dying for someone like Christian Horner, who's going to come out with pictures saying, no. George didn't do anything wrong. George is perfect, and he's never done anything wrong, and you are the people that have actually fucked up. George is dying for someone to back him like that.
You are right that George probably feels especially overlooked by Toto, but that is Toto's way.
Right.
Like if Abu Dhabi 2021 went the other way, if Max was a victim, if Max was a victim like Lewis was a victim, there would be no FIA. It would, it would have been burned to the ground. That would have somehow been at the Supreme Court. He would have taken that all the way to the top. They would still be litigating that to this day. Christian Horner would have gone, he would have seceded. He would have caused a civil war. There would have just been, it would have been insane. Right. But because Toto is not that way, he wasn't even that way for Lewis. He was like, oh, we'll just get him next year. It's not the because here's the thing. Toto said it the best. Yeah. Right? This is all Christian has. When Christian was embattled, this is all Christian. Toto has other things. Toto's a billionaire. Toto Toto's a very handsome guy.
Toto has balance in his life.
Toto gives speeches at Harvard Business School. He wants to be respected. Christian doesn't give talks. He doesn't care what people think about him. Right? He doesn't give a fuck. Everybody boos him. Everybody hates him now. He doesn't care. He just wants to go racing. So Toto just doesn't. The thing is, he never even backed Lewis that way.
Right.
Nobody backs their driver like Christian backs his driver. So to say that George Russell never got the Lewis Hamilton treatment, Lewis Hamilton never even got the Lewis Hamilton treatment. And that's why Lewis Hamilton left. Because Toto has his eyes on Kimi Antonelli.
Right.
Toto has his eyes on Kimi Antonelli.
This segues perfectly into the ways in which Max and Toto might clash. Because if Max pulls some shit like he did in Saudi and says, well, I was actually ahead and he pushed me off even though I released the brake and I was never really going to make that corner and whatever, you think that Toto Wolff is going to the press with printouts of Max's onboard and conveniently leaving out other angles of the incident? No, he's not going to do that. He'll tell Max, give the position back. This isn't the way to race. This isn't the way to do things, which is going to be a stark difference from how he's used to being, supported by the company at large.
Yeah, this is. I was rewatching Abu Dhabi 2021.
Whoa,
I was rewatching it.
Wild.
And I was doing some research for something.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching it, and there was a moment when they were not going to let the cars on lap.
Yep.
So the happy medium was they were going to have one lap of racing. They were going to let the kids race, but they were going to keep the 5 cars between Hamilton.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough time for all the cars to unlap themselves.
Right. So they just were going to leave it.
Any cars unlap themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
And then there was this great moment where Max was like, "Of course." On the radio, duh. Like Max was having. There was a moment where Max was like, "Yeah, it's in the bag for Lewis."
Right.
I'm the victim here, and then GP was like, "Totally, it wouldn't be any other way." Like GP was like in the corner with him.
Yeah,
they were both bitching with each other, like us against the world vibe.
Yes,
totally. They're fucking us over. Like typical FIA, never, despite the fact that Max drove like an absolute terrorist that whole season, he had this victim mentality that GP was like, yeah, why would they let the cars unlap themselves? Why would they completely circumvent the way that they've always raced for us? Ugh, disgusting. Like GP was like right there. Like, could you imagine Bono doing that with him? No, there's just no fucking way. There's just no way.
I just can't see it, and I think it has a real legitimate shot at happening. I feel like there's kind of like these rumors about like, well, Mac's going to give it more time. I don't know. From what I understand of what people are saying about these 2026 engines, it looks like Mercedes, at least at the start of this new regs, is going to be the team to beat. Who knows where the hell this Red Bull team is going to be? We've seen how they've developed this car. So many people have left, and on top of the fact that they're making the engine for the first time, I don't know. I see this as being like really legitimately possible that this switch happens.
Well, and but here's the thing. I think Max, even though there will be a culture clash, I think Max will put up with anything if the car is good.
Well, they won't have to deal with that much shit if the car is like in another league. Like if the car is, incredible and Max can just cruise to victory, then there won't be any controversy for Toto to back him up on. But it'll be like if he stays there and let's say he goes and they win the first 2 years and then the other cars catch up and then all of a sudden McLaren's back in the fight and, whoever else is back in the fight. Red Bull with George Russell. And there's on-track shit that goes down. Like, that's when it will arise. That's when the culture clash will everything.
But there's a culture
tension
clash
doesn't
at
happen
Red
when
Bull.
things are going good.
No, but there's a culture clash with Max and Red Bull. Like Max is clearly has problems with the way, like every marriage has its record scratches. Every marriage has its problems, right? He's just trading in one set of problems for another. Like, is Toto gonna rally around him in every instance, back him like some kind of little league dad, like Christian does? No, he's not.
Right.
But there's a lot of other bullshit that's going on at Red Bull. All the turnover, all the intra-fighting between Helmut and Christian, and like all that bullshit. Like Max, all the second driver stuff, like all that bullshit. Like Max clearly doesn't like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but he's willing to overlook it if he's got a car that he can win with.
Right.
So, to say that he's such a hand in glove fit with Red Bull, I think is oversimplifying things.
Yeah.
It's really he's just gonna go with. Is he gonna miss maybe? Oh, it was really nice when Christian had my back in this instance and that instance. Sure, but he's gonna also say, well, if he's smart, he'll say like. We tend to do this, when we look back at like older relationships or even our childhood where we go, oh, wasn't that nice when I did that with an ex, or when I was a kid, I got to do that. And I was like, yeah, but I also lived with my parents, which sucked.
Right.
And, I had to play,
it's easy to remember the good stuff after, after the fact. Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. I mean, culture wise, and then we can get off of this, but culture wise, the place that actually fits him the best is Aston Martin.
But then he'd be racing with Lance Stroll. That would be
right. Then he'd have to deal with that. that is the pebble in the shoe of that scenario.
As our friend Dan used to say, "Nobody's perfect," right? Like there's no perfect situation.
There's no perfect fit.
But he does like Honda, right? He clearly has an affinity for these Honda engines, so that is also a plus.
Well, let's talk about these engines because, 2026 is fast approaching and there's a bunch of, seems like all these regs that the FIA put forward, this half electrical, half, fuel engine is a mess, that it's a nightmare, that in all the simulations, the electrical component of the engine is just not up to snuff, that they ran a Monza on anything where you're going to have to deploy electrical power on any long straight, the Monzas, the Bakus, anything like that. Right now, the engine just stops producing power halfway down the straight. So they're basically scrambling right now as to what the fuck they're going to do. They might turn down the power of the engine, how much and like power can be deployed. So basically, they'll have to be a little bit more strategic about how many kilowatts of energy they're allowed to produce. Also, like the braking that happens that's supposed to actually recharge that battery, there's just not enough braking. The braking doesn't provide enough power in order to like actually sustain that. So there's a bunch of just kind of like chaos that's happening around this engine, which I'm like, who's, like this is just a massive fuck up of the FIA, is it not?
Yeah, it's the what was it, the DJ Khaled GIF or meme where it's congratulations, you played yourself.
You played yourself. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what this is.
And guess what? They do this every time. I think every time they switch something, it sucks.
Right.
They always do this. They always do a major switch.
Yeah.
And the first couple of years sucks.
Right.
It sucks. They did a major I mean, I haven't been paying long enough attention, but in 2013, they did a major switch. And aside from the Braun fucking thing, they did a major switch in, 2008, 2009? Red Bull just fucking dominated, right? They did a major switch in 2013. Well, it's not
necessarily even that teams won't dominate. That's expected to happen. There's an expectation at the beginning of a new regulation set, one team's going to have the edge. That seems to be like kind of fair play for the nature of the sport. But for them to be like, so the engines don't work, that's new.
No, but I think that they want it to be closer now.
Of course.
Like F1 is actually, because it's more popular now.
Right.
It used to be a nerd sport where people who were just more interested in the long-term storylines, they were kind of looking at it from like a 10-year, sort of 10,000 feet up.
And they're more interested in like the companies. Oh wow, yes. Mercedes is really innovative. Like they're it's like the stock market. Like wow, they're really innovating. They're in Silicon Valley. They're the new players.
Right, Brian. They're not. They didn't introduce basically a salary cap.
Yes.
Because they're trying to make it less like every other sport. They're trying to make it more like every other sport. They're trying to make these teams more valuable and more competitive.
Right.
Right? They want these teams to be closer together. That's why they introduced this cost cap. That's why they're doing the thing with the wind tunnel time. They want these things to be closer because they know that if they get a 2021, more often than not, they're going to be fucking rich. So they realize Drive to Survive, off-track drama versus on-track action equals bajillions of dollars. Right. That's the formula to mainstream success. So, yes, they were not as worried about it back then, but I think they're worried about it now.
Right.
And I think, for the 2015 or 2014 or 2013, whatever it was, a reg set, Mercedes was dominant for 7 years. Then at the very end, Max got on top of it. They tried to tackle the dirty air. Red Bull was dominant. And then now we have this catching up, and now everybody's kind of close. And really now we're at this issue where all they got to figure out really is the dirty air.
Right.
That's really, they're like, but because they want to do this carbon neutral thing and get these engine suppliers in, they're like, well, we got to think about road relevance and all these other things that nobody cares about except for the engine suppliers, which I guess is important in some way that someone in the comments can explain to me why. Oh, you need Audi in the sport. We need Audi in the sport. Do we need? I mean, it's probably better to have more engine diversity. You don't want like what we have now, which is 4 Mercedes engines in the sport.
Right.
4 teams using Mercedes engines.
I mean, this goes into like kind of the inherent issues and problems with this sport, which is that it's not a spec series, which is that there will always, they want to adapt into a sport that maybe has a higher ceiling due to competitiveness. But right now, the inherent qualities of the sport are preventing that. Having all these different engine manufacturers, IndyCar, 2 engines, Honda, Chevy.
Right.
There's still 2 engines. Honda gets its play. Chevy gets its play. Right now, half the grid is, I mean,
Not half.
Mercedes.
4.
Mercedes, and then, but next year it's going to be more because Alpine's taking them. So, like, Mercedes,
Right, so it's 4
and
teams. It's Mercedes, McLaren, Alpine, and
Williams.
So it's 4 teams are going to have Mercedes engines. And that's why this fight that they're having is not going to happen. This switch is probably not going to work because Mercedes has more votes. They have a lot of power. I think Christian's like, well, it's just going to be really bad for the sport because there's all this clipping and it's going to suck and it's going to
Yeah.
I'm really just thinking about the viewer here.
Yeah.
Which is, I honestly wish it was true.
Right.
I don't think Christian gives a fuck about our viewing experience. Right?
Yeah, no.
I think what he cares about, I think the Red Bull power, I think the Mercedes power unit is probably a step ahead of everybody else. I think time, I think it's an engine formula. I think last time it was an engine formula. I think Mercedes doesn't know its ass from its elbow when it comes to aero, but when it comes to engines, they're really good. And I think I think like Red Bull figured out the porpoising, they figured out this engine thing, and they're going to be heads and shoulders above the rest. And they're going to get they're going to win all these championships in a series that no one watches.
Right.
And that's why I think we need a centralized power.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think the FIA and the Formula One and all this bullshit, I think you need like an NBA commissioner whose only thought is like bottom line.
F1.
How do I protect these assholes from themselves?
Right.
Right. The NBA was like, okay, no more trading draft picks. You can only trade a certain amount of draft picks. Like they made that rule to protect these assholes from themselves because they're too stupid to think beyond their own. They're like, oh, well, we'll just trade 1 million picks because we want, Mo Bamba, who turns out to be nobody, like just something, right? Because we really like Mo Bamba. It's like, no, we have to think about the long-term future of the health of the sport, right? So I think that's kind of the problem is Mercedes is just like, well, we have the best engine, so we don't care if the sport sucks.
Right.
And I don't think Red Bull cares that the sport sucks. I think they only care about their immediate interest too, but I think that their immediate interest happens to coincide with what's best for the sport.
Right. Vankas, when I started this podcast, I thought I was going to have to do it all on my own. Now, luckily, I had Matt and Jenny, but we needed a little bit more help, and that's where Shopify came into play. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Not like us anymore because we're established. We love Shopify here at the Red Flags, our merch store, which sells our perfect merch, including this perfect t-shirt we should buy right now at theredflagspod.com. Guess what? That website and that store is run through Shopify, and you can turn your business idea into cha-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/redflags. Go to shopify.com/redflags. Once again, shopify.com/redflags and get started today. Yeah, I mean, they're attempting to mitigate this, basically, that if they're already putting into place, or they're attempting to put into place, some rules that basically say that if Mercedes is miles ahead, or what they say is if one of the engines is way ahead of the other teams, that they can put more development time that would not normally be allotted, that fixing it won't go to the cost cap, that basically they'll give these other teams like a head start or handouts in order to make this thing closer. But regardless, what it looks like is that at least for 26 and probably for 27 and who knows, maybe 28, Mercedes is going to have that car, which means that right now, it's like George Russell does really need to do everything in his fucking power to stay on that team because, like, this is his shot for a championship. Is like 26 is the shot.
Yeah, unless Verstappen sticks around Red Bull one more year, I think if it's that dramatic, because Max has seen the engine data probably in Red Bull.
Right.
If they just show him the engine data, the numbers on the dyno or whatever the fuck it is, if it's really that dramatic, he'll just move and George is fucked. And he'll have just missed the Mercedes dominance on both ends.
Twice.
Which,
Brutal.
Which would suck so bad for him.
Yeah.
But it sucks. It's
absolutely brutal.
It really is tough to be. It's hard out here for a George Russell.
But then it does beg the question if all these cars are getting, because we're gonna have 4 cars with the Mercedes engine next year, because it's like they're gonna be getting the same engines, and we've seen now that McLaren, you can win and not be a constructor. What it seemed like for a while was the necessary component was that it's got to be constructor in order to win. But Pierre Gasly saying in the press that he feels like that he could be world champion next year because they'll have that Mercedes engine. Now, I think that's a little bit pie in the sky, but I guess it does beg the question of, okay, sure, Mercedes might have the best engine, but guess what? 4 teams on this grid are going to have that engine.
Well, so Alpine's been pretty good, has had pretty good pace given that their engine is like the worst
sucks.
one.
Yes.
So if all things are equal and they get the best engine, you could argue that they might be pretty damn good.
Right.
I mean, McLaren will probably have something to say about it, but
Will Williams have something to say about it?
Right. I think this is going to be interesting because during the Mercedes dominance last time around, the thing is the manufacturer teams had unlimited money to spend.
Right.
So while Haas had Ferrari engines, while Alfa Romeo had Ferrari engines, and Williams had Mercedes engines. I don't know, when did McLaren take, because McLaren had Renault for a bit, then they took Mercedes.
They had Honda. And they had Honda.
But anyway, the point is the spending wasn't equal. Now, whatever Mercedes engine advantage they have might be, like, if your engine is native to your car, that used to be a huge advantage. I'm wondering if it's as huge an advantage now. Right. So McLaren started using Merc engines in 2021.
Right.
That was probably probably the best engine, but they weren't. They were like the 3rd or 4th best team.
Yeah. Well, they also got they had an influx of Red Bull people who studied under Newey.
Yeah, aero talent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if Mercedes produces a fucking insane engine, but they still haven't, and they're like porpoising again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's McLaren, and McLaren's still great. Who knows?
That's what the hope is probably for next year. If that Mercedes engine is wildly better than the rest, is that there's going to be 4 teams with the Mercedes engine on the grid. So what you can maybe hope for is that McLaren's going to still be there, and that Alpine and Williams can kind of figure their shit out while the rest of these engine makers and people who with Ferrari, Honda, Audi, and now Red Bull, they have a little bit of time to catch their engines up, and that the Mercedes, what you hope is that the 4 Mercedes teams can put a competitive season together.
Yeah.
That's the news. I mean, a couple other things. McLaren said that Carlos Sainz would be a potential consideration in the future. Zach Brown said that Carlos remains a consideration for his team's future driver lineup should a seat become available in the coming years. So there could be a reverting back to Carlos Sainz down the road if Lando or Oscar decide to go someplace else, or whether that decision is not made for them. Or for Lando, probably.
Well, it's interesting. If Max goes to Mercedes, well, let's say Max just retires.
Well, that's also what people have thrown that out too. They're like, Max might just take a sabbatical for a year because he's about to have his first, biological child. So people are like, is he just gonna take a year off and then be like, hey, all right, so come back all right, so who's fucking good here? All right, Yeah, get one of them out.
I'll go with
I'll
them.
take that seat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's it's like us in 2021 being like, should we be Lewis fans or Max fans? Like just picking the best people because we're just new to the game.
We're new here. I'm new in town.
We're new here. Yeah, Brian, you were like, yeah, I think I'll root for Lewis.
Dude, I had Lewis that year. I was like, Lewis is my guy. Let's get this 8th. I'm done ignoring greatness. Like yes. I was a Dwayne Wade guy. I wasn't a LeBron guy. You know, like I've done this my whole life.
Fan,
I'm a Mets fan, Jets fan, Knicks fan. Like, I was like, let's go with the GOAT.
Let's slot him with a safe pick, Lewis Hamilton for his 8th.
The safe pick, Lewis Hamilton. This guy's got him with the 8th,
This is your fucking fault, honestly. But yeah. So, but my point is let's say all things are equal. Max just leaves. No replacing George. George is free, so that it becomes a little bit simpler to. If they have just. If they can pick anybody but Max, who do they pick?
If Red Bull had their druthers, who would they go with to replace Max? I mean, Oscar Piastri. I feel like Horner kind of said that, as a mind games to like fuck with Lando Norris's head and fuck with Zach, but. I don't know. I feel like if you want someone who has like a similar, like a lot of the on-track benefits of Max Verstappen without the off-track shit, look no further than Oscar Piastri.
Do you think they would take Lando if you think they would even want Lando at this point? Like if it keeps going this way?
No.
Because Lando, I mean, you got to remember Lando, it's a marketing game too. So Lando's more marketable than Oscar.
Sure. But, you know, they've clearly made their decisions that they value winning over marketing.
Right, and if you win enough, even a fucking animal like Max Verstappen who hates publicity and hates engaging with his fans is marketable. If you just win 9 million championships, you're marketable.
Totally. I think if they had like, oh my God, our car is fucking amazing and we can win because we're just that much better, then they'd say, oh, let's go with Lando because this car's a rocket ship and he's so charming and he already has the huge fan base. But I think being in the trenches, which is kind of where they live, aside from those Vettel years, I think they would rather have an Oscar Piastri or George, honestly, or George Russell.
George, yeah.
I think George and Oscar would be their 2 first choices for that seat.
Yeah, or Leclerc.
Yeah, I mean Leclerc, I think has a similar thing with Lando. I think that Leclerc and Lando have similar pros and cons.
Yeah.
Like Leclerc hasn't really actually been in the position to like properly win a championship, but we know that he can be chaotic in a way that feels similar to Lando. Like he's not a fucking ice in his veins kind of guy. Who knows how
I don't know. He's had some pretty big balls moments, like in Monaco and Monza.
Yeah, he's had his moments as definitely, but it's not about like his moments. It's about like it's about like the sustained
but he hasn't
pressure.
had the car. He hasn't had a car to do that, really.
Yeah, I guess
like
you
the
could
point.
kind of
The
say
point is
say
like
similar shit about Lando, though. I mean, I guess I would say that you could say like similar.
He has the car right now,
right? No, I understand, but Lando's, but Charles has never had the car, so we can't like that's all perspective. That's all like you're saying. You know, he's had big moments when he hasn't had the car, but you could have said the same thing about Lando up until like 2 races ago. I think that they have a similar. I don't know. I don't know how. I'd like to think that Charles Leclerc would have more ice in his veins if the championship was like sitting there ready for him to take a bite out of it. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, we don't know.
So, all right, we're going to answer a couple of fan questions, and then we're going to answer more on the Patreon and do a little bit of extra content for the Patreon. So subscribe to patreon.com/trfpod if you want to hear more of these fan questions. And also we're going to do the driver walk-ups because we're going to Miami, baby. So if you want to know what we think all the walk-up songs, like baseball players, when they had that whole opening ceremony, who did the opening? Wasn't that LL Cool J?
LL Cool J.
They did it. If they're doing another thing like that, like what are they walking up to? What are they walking up to their car, blasting? This is from Lou Leah. Favorite F1 rivalry of all time.
Senna Prost, probably.
Yeah.
I think a rivalry is only as good as the sort of characters in it and what they represent. Because it's not just a battle of different drivers. It's a battle of personalities and ways of going about things. So Senna was all passion and fire and intuition, and Prost was all just cerebral. Like, how do I make up as many points as possible? How do I go about this in this cold, calculated, Machiavellian way? It's like fire and ice. You're not just thinking. You're not just watching like who's a better driver. It's a battle of who has a better, like which ethos is better,
right?
Which ethos or worldview will
right?
prevail.
Prost famously said that he wanted to win every F1 race as slow as possible.
Right, and Senna wanted to crush and humiliate his opponents.
And Senna in Monaco that year, I forget what year it was, but like was just trying to win by as large of a gap as possible, and then wound up throwing it into the wall. So yeah, they were perfect foils for each other.
And what's really interesting about Senna Prost that I learned is that this is going to come off as blasphemous.
Yeah,
but if Senna and Prost race today under these rules, let's just say, Prost would kill him because. Back then they took like the top 10 results and they dropped, like if there was 18 races, they would drop your 8 worst. They would just keep your best. It was kind of like the SATs where it's like if you take the SATs 9 times, they just keep your best scores.
I see.
So Senna, it would just really incentivize Senna to just fucking go for it every time.
Right.
And if he DNF'd because back in the day, it made a lot more sense because to drop the lowest,
right?
To just
they would
keep
DNF
the best
all the time
because they DNF'd a lot more often.
Right.
Nowadays they don't do that. They just say, okay, who had the best? You add all the races up, but it would be like if they dropped the 6 worst or the 12 worst performances, and not 12, but maybe 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, so back then it was really about like who had the most stellar results. And if you actually scored like them over a course of a season, Prost destroys Senna. Like it's not even close. And the only reason it was close is because they had you drop your worst 6 races, which like Senna would be happy to do because he's like, oh yeah, I crashed here, I crashed there.
Right.
Because that was his style.
Right.
His style wouldn't work as well today. Right. He was win or bin. Win or bin, actually, it doesn't work under the current framework. Right. So everyone's like, wow, Prost really screwed Senna that one time in Japan. I'm like, Prost should have, under today's standards, like it shouldn't have even been close. I mean, that's a really pro Prost take.
Right.
But it's just an interesting thing to think about. That cold and calculated, like Prost would be better today. The way you should race more like Prost than Senna today.
Right. See that? This is fucking school's in session. I think this is a slept on one because it wasn't classy in any way. But Piquet and Mansell.
Yeah.
because they took points off each other to the point where they both lost fucking
to
WGC.
Prost, right?
To Prost.
Or was yes?
I think it was to Prost. And they just hated.
Or was it
each other.
Lauda? Or was it that weird, like the last Lauda? No, that was two.
No, I think it was Prost. I think you're right. I think it was Prost. They hated each other so much. Said the Prost won. It was in '86.
Piquet said his wife was like a pig.
Yeah, Piquet said that Mansell's wife was ugly. This was the beginning of the kind of like downfall of Piquet. But just like they fucking hated each other, and to the point where they both lost the championship because they were too focused on fuck that guy over there.
Yeah, and they took too many points off each other. There's this great clip of in the Williams documentary, which is probably the best. It's like so emotional. It's got Claire and her father, and then the mother dies. Frank's wife, who like took care of him when whatever. It's a great documentary. You should watch it. And there's this great moment where Patrick Head, who was also a piece of work, Patrick Head was talking about how Piquet was convinced. By the way, Mansell was no picnic either, as a person to work with. So he was a bit of a emotional guy. And there's a moment where Patrick Head was talking about how Piquet just thought it's very Alonso. Piquet thought that Williams was being British biased towards Mansell. And Piquet was a big star at that point. They paid Piquet big money to come over, and Piquet was supposed to be the number one driver. Mansell was giving him a hard time, and Piquet was claiming, British bias, and Patrick Head goes, whatever British bias we might have subconsciously had was thrown out of the window because Mansell was such a prick. Like, there was no British bias. So I thought that was such a great line, that Mansell was such an asshole that the British bias went out the window.
Yeah, they were such dicks back then.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
So
no bedside manner.
That was a good one. I think Max Norris. I mean, Norris is not fighting him enough, but that's like a great battle. They're friends.
Oh, sure.
They have completely different worldviews. I think Piastri Norris could be good.
Totally.
Again, different worldviews.
Right.
Different characters. One is like...
Well, that was also Piquet and Mansell as well. Like, Mansell was kind of like all like kind of dick and balls, and Piquet was much more calculating. Like, Mansell kind of had like that mustache. Mansell was also salt of the earth. Right.
Fought for everything he had. Lived pretty modestly. Had his wife. Mansell had a wife who he met when he was like in his early 20s. She put him through racing. Like, she worked like full time to support him racing. They lived hand to mouth. She was like his sugar mama, so he could race. And Piquet had like private yachts, helicopters, total playboy. So they were also different in that way as well.
Beautiful. Well,
Hunt and Lauda as well.
Of course, yeah.
Also different
totally
worldviews.
Well, for our next question, which will be behind the paywall, it's going to be, how do you get over anxiety in a new relationship? Says Jeepers Bees. And what made you want to start a podcast? What's it like recording with Gunter? We're going to be talking about all this on the Patreon. Go subscribe now. But before we go there, we got to thank our daddies of the pod. We have got to thank Kayla, Robin, Jordan Texera, Jay Lingle, Spencer Grieve, Javier Mera, Sheila Valeri, Chandler, Alex Santana, Carla Juarlo, Kimberly Huelin, Alonso of My Face 69, Donya Dana, Deadbeat Daddy Muhammad, Jimmy, Kimmy, sponsored by Mommy of the Pod, Hollister 584, Delusional Signs Fan, Kat, Future Dog Tour Dion, Steph Grossi, JB Fresh, Laura, Emily Gillenwater, Cody Hull is my F1 Daddy, Branch W, Keep Up the Signs Hate, Hunter Scruggs, Salmonella Mozzarella, I'm a Leclerc fan, and yes, it hurts, Jay Kess, George Russell is Evil Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3, Matt Edwards is I Was Right, I Wish I Was Max and Danny's Love Child, Delaney Andrews, Henry Caskey, Miles Lewis Alexander, The Real Total Wolf, Meggie B, Kaylee Breyer, Eve of the Y, Aaron Fiber. Shout out to Aaron Fiber, friends with friend of the pod, Amy Solomon. Shout out to you, King. Even though you're not a daddy anymore, we're giving you honorary daddy status this week. Shout out to the King, Aaron Fiber. Devin, a.k.a. the future Dr. Sullivan's PA. Courtney Frazier. Yuki Tsunoda's other mother. Jenny is the reason I am a daddy. Whoa, that's a new one. Megan, Aaron, Pineapple with a Y. Matt has a secret boner for Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately, it's Gary. Carolina, my name is AJ and fuck the HOA. K-Mag can fuck smash my door any day. The official F1 race program and its executive editor, Sarah. I got tickled by the Tifosi. Hey, Jet, good luck out there. Allison Sane, Zhuge, F1 Dude Company, Trent Slickman, Code Brown Sonoda, Jerome Ferreira, Colapinto is a fraud, Aaron, Shahid, Jeans the Rockstar, Chohun, Shake and Bake, Cata Lick My Balls, Stay Fierce, Charles Leclerc, honorary daddy of the pod this week, every week, Nicole Piastri, and also honorary daddy of the pod this week, Emily Radikowski, dude. M. Rada rocking our Yuki merch. Yuki Tsunoda now follows her. Watch if M. Rada and Yuki Tsunoda start doing content together, look no further than the fucking red flags is the reason why. So thank you. If you want to become a daddy of the pod, go to patreon.com/pod and be a benefactor today. We will see you on the Patreon, Vankas, and see you in Miami. Goodbye, Vankas.
Goodbye.